Got to give a big shout out to LitRPG Reads and Paul Bello, fine fella, for sending over this awesome article. It compares sorcerers and wizards in D&D. And it's like they plucked this topic straight from my brain. Just the other night, our D&D group, we spent like almost an hour debating this very thing. We were all hyped to start a new campaign, flipping through the player's handbook. And of course, everybody wants to be the ultimate spellcaster. You know it goes.
Ah, yes, the eternal struggle. Sorcerer or wizard. It's a classic for a reason. And this article, it really dives deep into why these two classes, despite both wielding arcane might, are so fundamentally different.
Exactly. So for you listening in, let's break down this fundamental difference. The article makes it clear. It all boils down to the source of their magic, a sorcerer's power. It's raw, inborn talent, almost like a superpower. They channel this chaotic energy, fueled by their sheer force of personality, their charisma. It's all very instinctual, very in the moment.
Think of it this way. You, as a sorcerer, you're not spending years hunched over dusty tomes. Your magic is a part of you, woven into your very being. It might be a gift, a curse, or maybe even a wild surge of energy that just appeared one day, this inherent connection to magic. It can lead to some truly dramatic backstories and role-playing opportunities. Imagine having a dragon in your family tree, or surviving some freak magical event. That awakened your powers. It's all very personal, very visceral.
Yeah, contrast that with the wizard. They're all about study and intellect. Years spent poring over those dusty tomes, deciphering ancient languages, meticulously copying spells into their spell books. That's where their power comes from. Yeah, there's a certain appeal to that too. That feeling of mastery over arcane knowledge. It's like being a scholar who can also rain down fireballs.
It's that classic image of the wizard, isn't it? Surrounded by books and scrolls, their power stemming from dedicated study and a deep understanding of magical principles. They're collectors of knowledge, always seeking new spells to add to their repertoire. And this, as the article points out, is what gives them such incredible versatility. Think about it. As a wizard, you've got this massive spellbook, a veritable toolbox of arcane options. Need to identify a magic item. Got a spell for that? Need to translate ancient runes. Got a spell for that too. You're prepared for almost any situation.
The article even has this awesome table. It breaks down all the key differences between sorcerers and wizards, which we won't bore you with by reading it word for word. But there are some points we really need to highlight. One that jumps out is the contrast in spell flexibility. A sorcerer might have a limited number of spells in their arsenal, but they're masters of making those spells do exactly what they want. Think of it like this. You, as the sorcerer, you might only have a handful of tools, but you know how to use each one in a dozen different ways. You're not just casting a spell. You're shaping it to your will.
And that's where Metamagic comes in. Right. This is a core feature of the sorcerer, and it's truly where they shine. You want to twin a spell, to hit 2 targets instead of 1. You can do that. Want to extend the range of your spell, to blast someone clear across the battlefield? No problem. Imagine you're facing off against a horde of goblins, and you unleash a fireball. But wait, use your metamagic to twin it? Suddenly, 2 massive explosions engulf your enemies. It's a spectacle of raw power, and you're in control.
That's the sorcerer in a nutshell. Those big, explosive moments of unbridled magical force. And it's tempting. But on the other hand, there's the wizard, who might not have those flashy metamagic tricks. But they've planned for this. Their spellbook is filled with options, and they've meticulously prepared for a variety of encounters. So maybe they whip out a spell specifically designed to deal with swarms of enemies. Or maybe they conjure a wall of force to protect their allies while they pick off those goblins one by one. It's a different kind of awesome. Less about raw power and more about strategic execution.
Precisely. It's the difference between adapting in the moment and anticipating the challenge ahead of time. As a wizard, you're not just a spellcaster. You're a tactician. You're thinking several steps ahead, using your spells to control the flow of battle and ensure the safety of your party. Maybe you summon that wall of fire to funnel the enemy into a choke point, giving your allies the tactical advantage. Or perhaps you cast a spell. That weakens the enemy's defenses, making them vulnerable to a coordinated attack.
It's like the article says, the sorcerer is all about high burst damage, while the wizard is focused on consistent damage with evocation spells, protecting allies. 2 very different approaches to wielding magic, but both incredibly effective in their own right. And don't forget about rituals, which the wizard can cast without using up their spell slots. That's huge. For all sorts of out-of-combat utility. Imagine being able to identify magical items, translate ancient languages, or even create a temporary safe haven for your party, all without expending those precious spell slots that you need for combat. It's like having a whole extra layer of magical options available to you.
And That's a point worth emphasizing. Spell slots. These are a core mechanic in D&D that determine how many spells you can cast before needing to rest. And they work a little differently. For sorcerers and wizards, a sorcerer has a limited number of spell slots, but they regain them all on a short rest. This means they can go all out in a few encounters, then take a quick break to recharge. A wizard, on the other hand, has more spell slots overall, but they regain them only after a long rest. This gives them more staying power over the course of a long adventuring day, but requires them to be more strategic about how they use their spells.
Okay, so we've talked about the source of their magic, the way they cast spells, and the whole spell slot situation. Now, let's dive into how these differences play out in actual gameplay, both in and out of combat. Because D&D isn't just about throwing fireballs and swinging swords. It's about exploring dungeons, interacting with NPCs, and uncovering the secrets of the world. And sorcerers and wizards, they bring their own unique strengths to the table in those situations.
Indeed. So, let's say you're exploring a crumbling ruin, searching for a lost artifact. You, as a sorcerer, with your innate connection to magic, might have a gut feeling about which path to take. You might even be able to sense the faint magical aura of the artifact itself. It's not always about logic and deduction. Sometimes it's about trusting your instincts.
And that's something the article really highlights, the intuitive nature of the sorcerer's magic.
Yeah.
It's not always about following formulas and memorizing incantations. It's about channeling that raw power that flows through you, which, let's be honest, is pretty darn cool.
It is. But then you have the wizard, who approaches exploration with a more methodical, knowledge-based approach. They might pore over ancient maps, decipher cryptic clues, or even use their spells to reveal hidden passages, or dispel illusions. Remember, they're masters of knowledge and preparation, so they're likely to have the right spell for just about any situation.
And let's not forget about rituals, those spells that wizards can cast without using up spell slots. Imagine being able to cast Detect Magic, to scan a room for hidden magical auras, or comprehend languages, to decipher an inscription on a mysterious tomb. These are the kinds of abilities that make a wizard invaluable for exploration and problem solving.
So, whether you're a sorcerer trusting your gut or a wizard meticulously analyzing clues, both classes offer their own distinct approaches to exploration, and both can be equally effective, depending on the situation.
All right, so we've covered the basics, how their magic works, the whole spell slot thing, and how they approach exploration. But I think it's time we get to the really juicy stuff, combat. Because, let's face it, no matter how much we love exploring dungeons and solving puzzles, at some point, you're going to have to throw down with some monsters. And that's where the differences between sorcerers and wizards really come into play.
Absolutely. So, you listening in, picture this. You're facing off against a fearsome ogre, and the battle is raging. As a sorcerer, you're all about agility and adaptability. You're weaving through the chaos, reacting to the ogre's attacks with lightning-fast reflexes. You might teleport behind the ogre and unleash a devastating spell, or use your metamagic to quickly buff an ally who's in trouble. You're like a whirlwind of arcane energy, unpredictable and deadly.
And that's where the sorcerer's limited spell choices actually become a strength, because you have to be more creative with how you use those spells. You can't just rely on having the perfect spell for every situation. You have to think on your feet and adapt to the ever-changing flow of combat.
Contrast that with the wizard, who enters combat with a clear plan in mind. They've analyzed the enemy, they've prepared their spells accordingly, and they're ready to execute their strategy. They might start by casting a powerful control spell to hinder the ogre's movements, then follow up with a series of carefully aimed attacks. Or maybe they summon a powerful creature to fight alongside them, turning the tide of battle in their favor.
It's all about knowing your strengths and playing to them. The sorcerer thrives in chaos, reacting to the situation as it unfolds, and using their metamagic to create unexpected opportunities. The wizard, on the other hand, excels at control and planning, using their vast knowledge and spellbook to dictate the terms of engagement.
And both approaches are equally valid and can lead to some truly epic moments on the battlefield. It all comes down to your personal playstyle and how you envision your character operating in a combat scenario.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, but I think it's important to remember that this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've only scratched the surface of what makes these two classes so fascinating and complex. There are so many more nuances to explore, from their subclasses and feats to their role-playing potential and how they interact with other classes in a party setting.
It's truly a topic that could fill an entire book, and in fact, there are probably several books out there dedicated to this very subject. But for our purposes here, I think we've laid a solid foundation for understanding the core differences between sorcerers and wizards.
I agree. And I hope that this deep dive has given you, the listener, a better appreciation for the complexities of these two iconic D&D classes.
And now that we've laid that foundation, you, the listener, might be thinking, okay, cool mechanics, but what about the role-playing? And you'd be right to ask that.
Yeah.
Because in D&D, it's not just about what your character can do, it's about who they are. And both Sorcerer and Wizard, they offer some truly fascinating role-playing possibilities.
You hit the nail on the head. Let's start with the Sorcerer, as we've discussed. Their magic is deeply personal. It's part of their very essence. So when you're playing a Sorcerer, you're not just wielding power. You're exploring your relationship with that power. Where did it come from? How does it affect your personality? Do you struggle to control it? Or does it flow through you with effortless grace?
Imagine for a moment you are a sorcerer, a young farmhand, perhaps. When this incredible power suddenly surges within you, maybe it's a latent family legacy, a dormant dragon bloodline suddenly awakening, or perhaps it's a wild surge of untamed magic, the result of a freak accident, or exposure to some otherworldly artifact. How does this power change you? How do you integrate it into your life? These are questions that can fuel some truly compelling role-playing.
And the beauty of it is, there's no single right answer. You can play a sorcerer who embraces their power, reveling in the thrill of unleashing their magic upon the world, or you can play a sorcerer who's terrified of their abilities, constantly struggling to keep them in check.
Yeah.
The possibilities are as diverse as the sorcerers themselves.
And let's not forget about the sorcerer subclasses, which add another layer of depth to the role-playing potential. For example, the Draconic Bloodline, as the article mentions, is always a popular choice. It's not just about having cool dragon-themed abilities. It's about exploring your lineage, your connection to these powerful, ancient beings. Maybe you're trying to live up to the legacy of your dragon ancestor. Or maybe you're rebelling against it, trying to forge your own path.
Oh, and then there's the Wild Magic Sorcerer, which is pure chaos in the best possible way. You, the player, never know what's going to happen next. When you cast a spell, will it work as intended? Will it have some wacky, unpredictable side effect? Will it backfire spectacularly? It's a gamble every time, which can lead to some hilarious and memorable moments at the table.
I recall a game where a wild magic sorcerer tried to cast a simple light spell, but ended up transforming themselves into a giant, glowing hamster. It completely derailed the party's stealth mission, but it was a story we still laugh about to this day.
Exactly. It's those unexpected moments, those bursts of chaos and unpredictability that make the Wild Magic Sorcerer such a blast to play. But now, let's shift our focus to the Wizard. As the article points out, their approach to magic is rooted in knowledge and intellect. So for you, the player, embodying a wizard is about more than just memorizing spells. It's about embracing a scholarly mindset, a thirst for knowledge that drives your character's every action.
Think about the classic image of the wizard, holed up in their tower, surrounded by stacks of books and bubbling potions. They're driven by a desire to understand the mysteries of the universe, to unlock the secrets of magic, and to push the boundaries of what's possible.
And that pursuit of knowledge can lead them down some fascinating paths. Maybe they're obsessed with deciphering ancient prophecies, uncovering lost artifacts, or even delving into forbidden lore. They could be eccentric professors, reclusive hermits, or ambitious scholars who will stop at nothing to expand their knowledge.
And just like sorcerers, wizards have a variety of subclasses that can really shape their personality and role-playing. The School of Evocation, for instance, is all about mastering the raw power of elemental magic. They're the masters of fireballs and lightning bolts, the ones who revel in the sheer destructive force of magic. But there's more to it than just blowing things up. They might struggle to control their power, grapple with the ethical implications of wielding such destructive force, or even seek to push the boundaries of what's possible with evocation magic.
And then you have the School of Divination, who delve into the mysteries of time and fate. Imagine being able to glimpse into the future, to see the possibilities that lie ahead. It would be a powerful gift, but also a heavy burden. Would you use your knowledge to guide your party to safety, or would you be tempted to try and change the future, even if it meant meddling with forces beyond your comprehension? These are the kinds of ethical dilemmas that make the Divination Wizard such a fascinating choice for role-playing.
So you see, whether you're drawn to the raw, instinctive power of the sorcerer, or the intellectual pursuit of the wizard, there's no shortage of role-playing opportunities for both classes. It all comes down to your personal preferences and what kind of character you envision inhabiting.
And the article even touches on how sorcerers and wizards can interact with each other in a party setting. They could be rivals, each trying to prove that their way of doing magic is superior. Or they could be allies, working together to overcome challenges that neither of them could handle alone.
I've seen both dynamics play out in games, and they can be equally compelling. Imagine a grizzled old wizard, set in their ways, clashing with a brash young sorcerer who challenges their assumptions about magic. Or picture a sorcerer, humbled by the sheer breadth of the wizard's knowledge, seeking to learn from their experience and integrate some of that wisdom into their own practice. The possibilities for character development and interpersonal drama are endless.
And it really underscores the fact that these two classes, while fundamentally different, can complement each other in really interesting ways. They represent two distinct approaches to magic, but both are valid, both are valuable, and both can contribute to the success of a party.
It's like the yin and yang of arcane power. The sorcerer's raw, untamed magic balances the wizard's disciplined, scholarly approach. Together, they create a synergy that can overcome even the most formidable challenges.
And that's what I love about D&D in general. It's a game that celebrates diversity, both in terms of character options and player approaches. There's no single right way to play, no single best class or build. It's all about finding what resonates with you, what sparks your imagination, and what allows you to tell the story you want to tell.
And it's a game that encourages collaboration, both between players and with the Dungeon Master, because ultimately, the best D&D stories are the ones that emerge organically, through the interplay of player choices, DM creativity, and a healthy dose of dice rolling luck.
All right, so we've delved into the role-playing potential of sorcerers and wizards. We've explored their backstories, their motivations, their personalities, and how they might interact with each other in a party setting. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I think we need to address one more important aspect of D&D character progression. Because, it's not just about who your character is at the beginning of the game. It's about how they grow and evolve over time.
Absolutely. And both sorcerers and wizards have some really interesting options. For character progression, they can specialize in certain areas of magic, acquire powerful new abilities, and even multi-class into other classes to create truly unique and versatile characters.
For you, the listener. Imagine this. You're playing a sorcerer who, Graham, over the course of the campaign, has faced numerous challenges, overcome incredible odds, and grown immensely in power. You might decide to focus your studies on a particular element, like fire or lightning, becoming a true master of that force. Or you might choose to explore the more subtle aspects of your magic, learning to control your wild surges and manipulate your spells with even greater precision.
And for the wizard, character progression is all about expanding their repertoire of knowledge. They might seek out rare and powerful spells to add to their spell book, delve into ancient tomes to unlock forgotten secrets, or even travel to distant lands to study with renowned masters of magic they're constantly seeking, to push the boundaries of their understanding and to master new and innovative ways, to wield their arcane power.
And then there's multiclassing, which is a whole other can of worms. This allows you to combine levels from different classes, creating characters with unique blends of abilities and skills. For example, you could multiclass a sorcerer with a warlock to gain access to eldritch invocations, which are basically special abilities that enhance your spells and give you all sorts of cool options.
Or you can multiclass a wizard with a fighter, giving them proficiency with weapons and armor, making them a formidable force both in melee combat and at range. The possibilities are truly endless, and it's all about finding the combinations that best fit your playstyle and your character concept.
And that's one of the things that makes D&D so endlessly fascinating. There's always something new to learn, always a new challenge to overcome, and always a new way to approach the game.
It's a game that rewards creativity, experimentation, and collaboration. And it's a game that allows you to create characters that are truly your own, characters that grow and evolve alongside you as you embark on epic adventures and forge unforgettable stories.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into this whole sorcerer versus wizard debate, I think it's clear that there's no easy answer. Both classes, they offer incredible depth, versatility, and role-playing potential. It really comes down to your personal preferences, your playstyle, and the kind of character you envision bringing to life at the table.
And that's what makes D&D so captivating, isn't it? It's not a game of rigid rules and predetermined outcomes. It's a game of imagination, creativity, and collaboration. It's a canvas upon which you, the player, can paint your own heroic saga.
Exactly. And whether you choose to wield the raw, instinctive power of the sorcerer or the disciplined, knowledge-based magic of the wizard, there's a world of adventure waiting for you. But, as we've been discussing all these amazing aspects of sorcerers and wizards, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of choosing a class, optimizing your build, and strategizing for combat. But I think it's important to remember that, at its core, D&D is a game about storytelling. It's about creating memorable moments, forging lasting bonds with your fellow players, and experiencing the thrill of shared adventure.
You're absolutely right. I've been playing D&D for years, and the things I cherish most aren't the epic loot drops or the perfectly executed combat maneuvers. It's the stories, the laughter, the friendships forged over countless hours of dice rolling and collaborative storytelling. It's those moments when you and your fellow players, you overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, solve a clever puzzle, or roleplay a hilarious encounter with an eccentric NPC. That's the real magic of D&D.
And speaking of magic, I have to give another shout out to LitRPG Reads and Paul Bello, fine fellow, for providing this awesome article that sparked this entire conversation. It's a testament to the passion and creativity of the D&D community, that there's so much great content out there for players of all levels.
Absolutely. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or a brand new player just starting your first campaign, there's a wealth of resources available to help you explore the world of D&D. From websites and podcasts to YouTube channels and online forums, you're sure to find a community of like-minded individuals who share your love for this amazing game.
So, as we conclude this deep dive into the Sorcerer versus Wizard debate, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question, and this is for you, the listener, to ponder. It's not about mechanics or optimization. It's about the heart of your character, the driving force behind their actions.
Think about it this way. What is it that fuels your character's magic? Is it a burning desire for power? A thirst for knowledge, a deep-seated need to protect those they love? Or perhaps it's something more profound, something that transcends the mundane and connects them to the very fabric of the universe.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We always love hearing from our fellow adventurers, and your insights. They might just inspire someone else to embark on their own epic journey into the world of D&D. Until next time, may your dice rolls be ever in your favor.